So, you love sport. If it's foul play and dirty tactics you like, then check out The Traitors, Uncloaked.
I know it's a game of deception, but it's a game of trust. You have to get people to trust you very quickly.
I'm Ed Gamble. Join me as we discuss all the latest drama from the Traitors' Castle, with exclusive access to the banished and murdered contestants.
No!
I would have never expected him at all.
The Traitors Uncloaked. Listen only on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. I'm Liam McLeod, and as we record, the Premiership is paused for its winter break. How annoying for all of us supporters who are missing the football. We are taking the chance though to look back on the last 5 months or so and are publishing mid-season report cards for all 12 top-flight teams to tell you all you need to know about where they are, how they got there, and how it might go for the rest of the campaign. This episode's dedicated to the side currently sitting in 9th place in the table, and that is Motherwell.
And it falls for Biarritz. Oh, that's magnificent! And Mika Biarritz continues to make a big name for himself in the Scottish Premiership. Ball flighted towards Theo Bair. 1-on-1. And Motherwell have two. Held back in by O'Donnell, Biarritz, and Mugabe's there. And Bevis Mugabe completes the comeback for Motherwell.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
I'm joined by Jenna Thomson, who is a Motherwell supporter and BBC fan columnist, and Stephen Craigan, who spent 14 years at the club across 2 spells as a player. He's also been a coach and caretaker manager twice at the club, and of course, the captain's armband for a lot of that as well. How are we both doing? Okay?
Yes, all good.
Feeling good?
Feeling good, Craigs. A Motherwell fan feeling good. That's got to be a positive to start off with, isn't it?
Motherwell fans always have to be optimistic, and that's the most important thing. That's part of your duty as a Motherwell fan. You've always got to try and look on the bright side of life. So hopefully the first part of 2024 will be better than the second part of 2023. Do
you know, Jenna, when we were speaking in the pre-season podcast, when we focused on Motherwell, we were talking about the brilliant impact that Stuart Kettlewell had, the run of games he had at the end of last season. Actually, the campaign started brilliantly for him as well. He had the Midas touch, and then for some reason, things fell apart. What are the Motherwell fans saying, the ones you sit around? How are they feeling about things at this point?
I haven't been able to speak with many since the interview came out with, obviously, the interim CEO. I think that's changed a lot of opinions overnight, almost, it seems. But up until that point, the main points of concern were, why has there been no communication from the higher-ups at the club about what's been going on behind the scenes? Why have the results fallen to pieces? And more to the point, are the players definitely still playing for Kettlewell, or are they just playing for the club? Because obviously there's a big distinction between the two, because you can play for the club but not play for your manager. But as results they haven't really gone in our favour, don't get me wrong, but our performances have gotten better, and it has shown that he's got the players still backing him. It just seems to be we've just lost that Midas touch that you were saying earlier.
Yeah, Jenna's kind of hinting about the piece that went out with the interim CEO, Derek Weir. We'll maybe get into that a little bit later. We've got tons actually to get through with Stephen and Jenna, but firstly, let's have a quick reminder about Motherwell season up to press.
Slattery through for Abika. He has options in deflection, and Motherwell take the lead.
It's Motherwell 2, Hibernian 0. Mika Biarritz with his first goal for the club. Chance goal! Motherwell!
Blair Spittle feeds it back to Slattery! And the Motherwell fans in that away end celebrate.
There'll be a decent amount of hype, and rightfully so, in terms of what the players have been able to achieve. It's been pretty monumental, but we don't get carried away with where we're sitting in the league. People will look at league tables, but for us, very simply, it's been an exceptional start to the season.
I've got a goal! St Mirren take the lead. Kelly stepping up to take it left-footed. Goal! 2-0, Livingston.
McLeod going to unleash a right-footed shot, deflected and into the back of the net. Taylor crosses it in to the back post where O'Reilly's waiting! Matt O'Reilly has won it with the last kick of the game for Celtic!
Things
Things going from bad to worse for Motherwell as Ross County double their lead. Jan Danta with the goal.
This is by far the worst performance to this point in what's been a terrible run for us.
Oh my goodness, poke the bear and he will score. What a goal from Theo Bear, I'm not kidding you. Didn't see that coming. Motherwell 3, Libby 1.
There's been loads of highs, but what we've had to do is face a bit of adversity, and there's no question about that. I stick my hands up to that and say that that's not a good enough run for this football club, but I have to say everybody stood by me, and I can assure you that we'll be going full throttle to try and make sure that we can come out the other side of this winter break as strong as we possibly can be.
Well, a lot of memorable moments there, but to try and summarise their season up to this point, Stuart Kettlewell's team currently 9th in the Premiership. They're on 20 points, 4 wins, 8 draws, 9 defeats. The season started with them topping their League Cup group, although they would go out in the second round to St Mirren. The league campaign began brightly enough. 1-1 draw at Dundee, wins over Hibs, Kilmarnock and Hearts. But little did we know after that victory, and it was a superb victory on the 3rd of September at Tynecastle, that they wouldn't get another one in their next 15 matches. During that winless run, Stuart Kettlewell came under increasing pressure, notably after the 3-0 defeat away at Ross County, a result he described as one of the worst he's had. They did earn plaudits for the hard-fought 1-1 draw at Celtic Park and were involved in not one but 2 3-all draws against Ross County and Dundee. Very different feelings, I would imagine, after the 2 matches there. And they finally got that elusive victory with a 3-1 win over Livingston on the 30th of December before notching up yet another draw in their final game before the winter break at the start of the month, this time away at Hibs. Eli Johan denying them victory though in the dying stages. So I've asked Jenna how to kind of look back at the season and how the fans are feeling just now. Craigs, you know the club inside out. How are they feeling right now at this point?
Well, do you know what's funny, Liam? I'd said a few times that with some poor results, if the fans start to get vociferous towards the board, towards the manager, and show a real discontent, that can force people into making decisions quite quickly with a manager. But I have to say, I haven't generally felt that around games, that the fans haven't been on the players' back too much, or the manager's back, or at the board. And actually, Jenna said there's been a disappointment with lack of communication. But when you talk about players blamed for their manager, I think you have to look at the number of late goals that Motherwell have gained. You spoke there about the 3-3 draw against Ross County, late goals against Dundee, a late goal at home against St Johnstone, a late goal at Celtic Park. You don't do that as an individual or as a team if you've no real interest in the manager staying long term. So there's a fight and there's a desire amongst the players. The question you have to ask is, are they good enough? And I think when you think of the Hibs game, the last game before the winter break, the goal that they conceded, the second one, probably sums up defensively where they've been, that they haven't been good enough. Through a simple ball into the box, and young Georgie Gent's trying to make his way in the game, has a bit of a poor clearance. It's a strike that Bevis McGabby maybe could have dealt with a little bit better, and suddenly it ends up a 2-2 draw as opposed to a 2-1 win. So I think the biggest frustration for me watching the games is the manner of the goals that they concede. But then when you look at the season as a whole, or half of the season, when you lose players like Kevin Van Veen, Sean Goss, James Furlong in the summer, this season is always going to be much different, because when you take quality players out of the squad, Motherwell don't have the finances or the resources to go and replace that kind of quality. Yes, they won 3 of their first 4 games, but I think looking back, it was maybe a slightly false position because they were weaker than last year. They managed to dig out some great wins. I get that, but as a squad and a group, I don't think they're as good this season as what they were last season. And Jenna's watched Motherwell for many years, and that tends to happen because Motherwell players' turnover seems to be quite big. The good ones always seem to leave, and the managers always have to try and find replacements. So I think that probably sums it up for me.
It must be infuriating for Stuart Kettlewell and for the fans, Jenna, that this is a squad of players that can go to Celtic Park and get a result and put in an excellent, resilient defensive performance, and then 10 days later they ship 3 in Dingwall.
Oh, definitely. It's one of the most frustrating things is that when we went to Celtic Park, I was fully expecting it to be a 4-0 win to them, no problems, right off as a training session, whatever. And then we draw, so immediately gets a little bit of hope in the fans. Is this thing starting to finally turn around? Because let's be honest, it's not easy to get any points at Celtic Park, never mind finish with a draw in the way that we did, because we held on for majority of that game. They had a couple of good chances, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they had a bad day at the office, it was just that we had an exceptionally good day, and that's just not like ourselves at the moment. And then, as you were saying, like then next week we can't even beat Ross County. Going into the Livingston game, I actually joked about it with like my dad and like my friends and stuff, saying that what's the chances that next time we play Celtic, we'll take about 2 or 3 goals off them, but we still won't be able to beat Livingston or like St Johnstone, Ross County, because that just kind of sums up where we are. We put in the performances, we've got the capability. It's just we seem to pick and choose where the players have that belief. They're happy to take on giants, but they can't take on the underdogs. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things I've come to accept over the years, is that you can't really predict Motherwell too well.
Well, let's have a look at those at the club and where they currently stand, from the coaching staff to the playing staff. And we start with the manager, obviously, and Stuart Kettlewell's come under huge pressure at times this campaign. I have to say, I think he's dealt with it pretty well, Craigs, because there were some tough questions being asked there. I think there might have been one interview out there where he was getting a little bit narky with the line of questioning, but he understands the game, and he understands. He's been a manager for a little while now, knew the game inside out as a player as well. But I think he's kind of dealt with it in pretty good terms over the last couple of months, particularly when things were going against him. And you just get the sense that there's a corner to be turned there.
Liam, there has to be a corner to be turned. Not can there be, there has to be. Because if their form continues as it has over the next 3 or 4 months, unfortunately, Motherwell won't be a top-flight club. Stuart, I agree with you. You know, he's a football man. He's passionate. What I like is he's refrained from going public on his players. He's taken responsibility himself. He's tried to be sensible with how he's dealt with things. But the longer it went, there's no doubt, as much as he said publicly he wasn't worried about his position, or he felt that, you know, they would pick up points somewhere along the line, he must have doubted himself. There must have been moments inside, because we're all human. We all have deficiencies. We all have insecurities. He must have had that. But the fact that his players kept digging out last-minute goals probably convinced him to keep coming back to the players and showing them. Stuart's a big one talking about evidence, about showing players where they can improve and what they've done well. But likewise, he had to go and show them what they were poor at and what they had to improve on. So I think the January transfer window was huge. I think the one thing that concerned me a little bit was the lack of variety with regards changing the shape. I think they've been shoehorned into a back three because they've no wingers. So it'll be interesting to see if that's something they look at, that when things aren't going well in games, how does Stuart change it rather than just changing personnel? Can you change shape? Can you change your tactics? So hopefully there's money there to bring players in.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the results over the last 10 matches, obviously there's a lack of wins there, Jenna, right? But it's just 3 defeats in those 10 games. The one bitter disappointment was Dingwall. The other 2 losses were against Hearts. Okay, it's at home, but Hearts are on a good run just now. And the other one was against Rangers on Christmas Eve, a game me and Stephen both covered. Do you kind of feel that when you look at the games that are coming up over the next period, that Motherwell will be in a better place come the end of the winter months? Alloa in the Cup, then it's St Johnstone, Kilmarnock and Ross County. The latter 2 are at Fir Park. I mean, you've got to look at that fixture list and think there's points to be had there and wins to be had.
Absolutely. We should be taking at least 6 out of 9 with the St Johnstone and Kelly games coming up. There's no reason why we can't do it. We just need to have that belief. It was as if for a long time the players had lost a bit of confidence in themselves, and then as the fans would be cheering on throughout the game, they'd finally find that spark in them again to go out and get the late goals that we've been speaking about. The players need that motivation, and you can go into the game, the managers can say whatever they want. At the end of the day, if the players don't have beliefs in themselves, that will cause you to fall behind. Stephen touched on a little bit earlier about in regards to Kettlewell, but how on the inside he must have been having doubts about himself, his ability, the future at the club. The players may be thinking about that about themselves, and now that we did get the win against Livingston, fair enough, going into the Hibs game we would have taken a draw before the game started, but obviously the way that we lost the last goal, we were absolutely fizzing that it was a draw, not a 2-1 win to us. But those are 2 huge things we have to build on the back of. If we can keep momentum going, I don't see why we can't take at least 7 points. I'll take 2 wins and a draw out of this, because Kilmarnock have been doing quite well recently as well. Obviously we want 9, but you need to factor in that it is Motherwell here. So
the problem has been, particularly during this bad run, is getting the lead. They've only led in 2 games, which was Dundee at home and Livingston at home. So they led 2-1 away at Easter Road. But I'm talking about that first goal, which is crucial. And when you're a team and a group of players continually having to come from behind, and we spoke about the 3-3 against Ross County, had to come from 3-1 down. The 3-3 against Dundee had to come from 3-1 down. Physically and mentally, emotionally, it takes a lot out of your players, and eventually that kind of runs out. you end up losing a game because you're always having to chase, you're always having to open up, you're always getting exposed, potential of a counter-attack. And there's no real way of working and training about scoring the first goal. It just means you have to be, when your chance comes along, you've got to be ruthless. And ruthless at both ends with regards making sure you don't concede the first one. And if you do get the first one, then how often do we see in the Scottish Premiership, so many teams are evenly matched. If you can get yourself ahead in games and you can be hard to play against and difficult to play against, which Motherwell probably haven't been often enough this season when they were last season, be a difficult team to play against. You can play in the counter-attack as opposed to always having to open up. So there's certainly room for improvement everywhere.
Van Veen was obviously a big miss, Jenna, for the club for obvious reasons. Max Johnston left as well. There were others who departed. Sean Goss, as Stephen mentioned. Who's impressed with the new signings? I know Stephen loves watching Theo Bair. Obviously, he's always going on about him on Sports Sound every week. But who stood out for you?
Oh, Braith, absolutely every single day of the week. The Arsenal wonder kid. If we can somehow beg Arsenal to let us keep him on a permanent basis, I think we'll be running all the way to the bank with massive smiles on our faces, and we'll do amazingly if we can keep him in the long term. I doubt it'll happen, to be honest. I can imagine Arsenal would want quite a large sum for him, but just let a girl dream, okay? Just let me have hope for once.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Right, we're going to wrap up shortly, but before we do, I just want to chat a little bit about what Derek Weir said. Stephen, he talked about a whole range of things. He was talking about the CEO. He didn't want the new CEO coming in, whoever that may be, to have had any kind of attachment to the club previously. He was talking about the departures of some of the players, Soare, Spencer and Wilkinson. He says the club have to be more flexible in the transfer market. He says the club's not in any kind of financial difficulty just now. He was talking about investment. He was talking about the pitch and the stadium costs. He had a lot to say, didn't he?
He did, Liam, and I have to say I was very impressed. I've known Derek for many years, but I've never heard him speak publicly on so many different things with regarding Motherwell Football Club. What I would say is Derek is a massive Motherwell fan, as is Jim McMahon. So for people thinking they're stepping away to leave the club in the lurch, absolutely not. They've done so much for the club. They've got real passion for it. And I just thought he went so in depth on so many topics that actually was really refreshing. Jenna may argue that it could have possibly have came a little bit earlier, and I probably agree with that.
She's nodding her head in agreement.
Well, she is. It's probably just to quell all the rumours and the whispers that go about, because sometimes when there's no information coming from the board or an interim CEO, you fear the worst. So I think he's put a lot of people at ease. He's certainly put me at ease. I thought he spoke really well about Stuart. I thought it was interesting he spoke about the management situation. You know, he said we can't continually keep sacking managers. That at one stage last year, they were paying 3 managers and 3 assistant managers. They were on the payroll. Motherwell can't afford to keep churning that out. Understandably, if the results are dreadful and the performances are dreadful, then that has to be the case. But he said he believed in Stuart, that they had a good management team to turn things around. How the club will finance money, wanting outside investors because the club has pushed and done everything it possibly can. It would be nice to have a smaller benefactor who would help them along the way and work alongside the Wales Society, who have been an excellent addition to the football club. So I think it was really refreshing to hear that. And that should give the supporters optimism in the team and the players, because I can believe you, it certainly gives me optimism.
Jenna, are you optimistic, to use the word Stephen just used there, about the rest of the campaign? What's your prediction for Motherwell between now and the close of business?
I'm a lot more now. Like, that interview did put a lot of hope into myself. I mean, ideally, if we can get a new CEO in before the start of next season beginning, I think that would be the best way for us to start. Fresh slate going forward. But until then, realistically, I want to say if we keep on a bad run, if things don't go our way, I can see us finishing about between 9th and 10th, I'm not going to lie. However, if we can actually get some fortune in our sails and start turning things around, I can see us being anywhere between 6th and 7th.
And a winnable cup tie to come as well, Stephen, at home to Alloa. How do you think Motherwell will do between now and May?
Well, when you've won 4 of your first 21 games, that tells you there has to be an improvement there. I think the squad has shown that they're resilient, that they can dig out results. Beating Livingston was huge, an important draw away against Hibs. A little bit more consistently defensively. I mean, they're the 4th highest scorers in the league, which is kind of astounding me when I looked at that this morning. So they carry a threat. However, they need to get it right defensively. Alloa is a huge banana skin for them. Derek Weir mentioned in that interview about how the club can possibly raise money, and a cup run is absolutely essential for a club like Motherwell Football Club. However, with a couple of weeks off, it may give Alloa a little bit of hope. But I'm more than content that if Motherwell can get to 38 points, which is 18 points in the next 17 games, then that means they'll be guaranteed top flight safety. That'll do for me, and then regroup in the summer.
Yeah, they don't have to face the top two until the end of February. They do have trips to Pittodrie and Tynecastle before then. It's incredible. More than 3/4 of their goals this season have come at Fir Park. So at least the season ticket holders, like Jenna, are able to see plenty of goals. They just want things to be perhaps a little bit tighter at the back. Listen, thank you guys for joining us on the Scottish Football Podcast. That's Jenna Thomson and Stephen Craigan. The Motherwell mid-season report card there. Thank you for listening, and remember, we have a special episode on every Premiership club throughout the winter break, so make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of them. Until the next time, bye-bye.
Just a quick reminder, the Behind the Goals podcast is available every Tuesday with me, Rachel Corsey, and me, Leanne Crichton. It's your one-stop shop for our take on everything that's happening in the world of football. Just head to BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts and search for Behind the Goals.